I need you to stop a plane crash. You're the only person I know who can save them.
Has he flown a King Air?
Never.
On a Wing and a Prayer is one of those films where I know the outcome, yet the entire time I was wondering what was going to happen. How does that
I
work?
love that. I love that.
Titanic.
That means we did our jobs. That means we made a compelling, watchable movie about true events.
Absolutely. And your character is no exception. He's based on a real life pilot. Talk to me a little bit about Carrie.
Okay, yeah, well, Carrie Sorensen happens to be an expert in the plane that Doug White ultimately has to fly after their pilot tragically dies. And, you know, he has to land this plane safely and save him and his family. So, you know, because no one knows how to fly this plane in the control tower, somebody ultimately ends up calling a friend who happens to be Carrie Sorensen. He happens to be an expert in this particular plane, which is a Beechcraft King Air 200. I learned a lot about aviation in the course of preparing for this role. I had all this technical jargon that I had to spit out like I knew it like the back of my hand. And I didn't even know what I was saying when I read this script, you know, so I had to look all this stuff up. I definitely have a newfound respect for aviation and for pilots. And I also had to do a lot of work, you know, research on this real life human being. And there wasn't that much out there. You know, he only did a handful of print interviews and a couple on-camera interviews and one on-camera speech where I could, you know, get an idea of kind of what type of man Carrie was. He was a very reluctant hero, humble guy, a bit sardonic, you know, a couple of his quotes had a little bite to them, a little sarcasm. And ironically, you know, he lived in Connecticut, and I'm from Connecticut. You know, Carrie Sorensen and I look nothing alike. We took some artistic license there. But I hope when he sees this movie, he can identify, you know, with my performance. And you know, I hope he feels like I brought some emotional resonance to my portrayal of him, you know, because he had been through a lot.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things that struck me about him is he had been through a lot. And the reason that he was probably reluctant is because, you know, he had kind of a sordid background when it came to flight and his family members and so forth. Talk to me a little bit about, you know, the idea of stepping up when it's needed, even if it's something that's tough, because I think, you know, the way the world is now, we can all relate to that in some level in our own lives where we have to kind of step into something that's tougher than we think it's going to be, but the outcome can be really, really good.
Contrary action is the first thing that comes to my mind. You know, when you have a resistance to doing something, generally that's something you need to be doing, you know, and some real growth will come out of doing it. And I think that's what happens in our movie with Carrie. You know, helping Doug White and his family is a cathartic, healing experience for him ultimately, and benefits him in his personal life.
As you learned so much jargon and so forth, are you kind of checking a few boxes before you board, or what does that look like for you now?
You know, I've been asked previously if this ramped up any fear of flying or something. And you know, my mom used to send me off to my grandmother's, you know, starting at like 7 years old. I used to fly by myself to Florida for the summer and stay with my grandparents. And I think because of that, I've never had a fear of flying. I honestly don't even think twice about it. I sleep like a baby on planes. And being a part of this movie hasn't changed that.
Going kind of on that reluctant theme, has there been a project in your career where you were like, oh man, I don't know if I should take this. I don't know if I want to do it. And you stepped into it and you were like, man, I really was able to grow in a certain aspect, either personally or professionally?
Honestly, nearly every role I take on, because I bring so much of myself and my personal experience to my roles, they're all cathartic in a way. You know what I mean? I mean, because I take unresolved, emotional traumas or issues from my own past and put them into my characters, and the more you exercise those demons, the more you're free of them.
And we even see that with Dennis Quaid's character too, Doug, right? He's going through a lot with his brother and his family, and then gets thrown into having to save his entire family. So there's a lot that can be worked through when you step into the unknown, so to speak.
The film is so relatable, everyone can relate to a character in this movie, and the themes are so relatable yet powerful. I mean, they're broad themes, but they're very powerful themes, and I think that's why this movie's really going to resonate with audiences, I think.
Just leave us on the last note of hope and what that can bring, believing in the impossible, thinking that you might not be able to do something, but you're able to do it. I think we all need a little hope right now.
We all need a little hope. We all need a little faith. We need to believe in things we can't see, and powers greater than ourselves. I mean, that's the definition of faith, and that's what's going to carry you through the most challenging times in your life.